I'm going to show you the basic recipe for Fate sweet pastry. Absolutely lovely for any kind of fruit tarts, apple pies, jam tarts and mince pies, especially for Christmas time. So I'm going to use the Fate low protein all purpose mix, and I'm going to weigh 250 grams into a mixing bowl. And into that I'm just going to put a little pinch of salt. Even though it's a sweet pastry, I just want a little tiny bit of salt. Next, I'm using block margarine for the recipe. This really works well. And I'm going to weigh 125 grams. It's 123, not too bad. 125. And then all I'm going to do is use my hands, use my fingers, cover that margarine with the all-purpose mix, and then between your fingers and your thumbs just kind of squeeze it and break it up, and all the time gathering a little bit more of the mix. You just really got to keep on working it like that between your thumbs and your fingers until it's all rubbed in, and it will eventually look like fine breadcrumbs. Just take a couple of minutes or so. You can do it in a food processor or even a food mixer, but I always find it's good to show people using the old-fashioned way. Ever so often you want to kind of dig down to the bottom of the bowl to get all the mix blended in. And I think that's almost there now. For a quick test is to just shake the bowl, yeah, and some larger lumps of the margarine that isn't mixed, that I've missed, look, that can be grabbed and rubbed in. And if you get fed up of doing it with your fingers, you can always do it with your hands like that, and it's usually a bit quicker if you do it like this as well. I think that's fine. That is what I call the fine breadcrumb stage. I'm just going to shake the bowl, see if there are any. No, I don't think no, I think that's fine. But with the Fate low protein pastry recipe, what you need to do, that was fine breadcrumbs, what you need to do is to continue to mix. It'll only take probably another minute or so. You want to continue mix until the mixture resembles coarse breadcrumbs. And this is quite important. That's, you see the texture is slowly changing. Just another little bit. Now we're almost there now, I think. If I just lift it up, you'll be able to see it is almost starting to come together. If I was to grab some and actually squeeze it, it would hold. That's the texture you're looking for. Yeah, that's what I would call coarse breadcrumbs. Now, because this is a sweet pastry, you need to add a little bit of sugar. I'm just going to place a little dish on the scales, and I'm going to weigh, for this amount you want 30 grams of caster sugar. And into that I'm going to add 60 mils of cold water. And I'm just going to pour that water into the little dish, and then I'm just going to stir it just a couple of times just to wet the sugar really. You don't need to dissolve it. And take the bowl, take the water and put it into your mixture. Make sure that you've got all the sugar, don't leave any behind. And then I like to use a large metal spoon and just stir it very quickly so it all comes together. Now, if this was ordinary pastry, you would certainly think that you'd added too much liquid. But no, that's absolutely fine. This is exactly how it should be. It should become a nice creamy mixture. it's quite soft as well. If you can see, it's almost like an ordinary cake batter. That's exactly how it should be. I think that's more or less mixed in. I think that's quite nice. So I'm just going to leave that, scrape my spoon, and just leave that to rest for a couple of minutes. Now this pastry has now been standing for a couple of minutes, and I'm going to show you how to roll it out. You need a little bit of extra fate all-purpose mix on the work surface. And then just scrape the pastry out onto it, and you can actually see how the mixture's changed in just a couple of minutes. And just turn it out, add some mix to your hands, and now you want to knead it. So I'm just going to flatten it. Now I don't want too much all-purpose mix, so I'm just going to move most of that away because I've actually coated the pastry now. And I'm just going to take a couple of turns, and this will just make it a lot more pliable and easy to roll out. I don't know if you can see, but the texture's changed already. It's a lot more smooth. It's starting to stick on the work surface, so I'm just going to do another light dusting. You don't want to add too much all-purpose mix to this finished recipe. I hope you could see how nice and smooth that pastry is. And that now is ready for rolling out. One thing to remember, always have all-purpose mix underneath. And also a light dusting on the top. It doesn't matter about your rolling pin, because if I put all-purpose mix on my rolling pin, it's going to fall off anyway. So as long as you make sure the pastry is coated. And then take a rolling pin and just gently, just very gently, roll it backwards and forwards. And then I'm just going to turn it round and again. If you just go slowly at first, as soon as you feel it sticking, you can add a little bit more all-purpose mix. But this is going good at the moment. Now it depends what you're going to use this pastry for, but you want it nice and even. So if you just rub your hands over the surface of the pastry, you can actually feel where the thicker parts are. That's a little bit thick here and it's a little bit thick there, so I'm just going to even it out. And that is lovely. The basic recipe for fate sweet pastry.